Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in this week. And I am super excited for our guest that we have. Before we jump into that, I just want to remind you we are on the socials, on TikTok, on Instagram. We also, of course, are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Please make sure to take a moment and follow there on those podcasts. And if you can, leave a rate or a comment. It would be incredibly helpful for us to be able to get this out to as many people as we can. So thank you again for tuning in this week. And without further ado, Abe, why don't you go ahead and introduce us to our guest today?
Yeah, man, I'm excited to introduce one of the most well-accomplished middle distance runners in Illinois. He's a two-time 4x800-meter state champion in the Open 8, team cross-country state champion, second at Nike Outdoor Nationals, part of the 2A state record-holding team in the 4x8, 153 over 800, 415 in the 16, 1436 for 3 miles. This is Tremonti Williams.
Tremonti, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing very good today. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, man, we are so thrilled that you've taken some time to come on our podcast here at On Daily Run. And so, again, thank you so much for taking that time and everything. And so, you know what, Tremonti, Abe has just read a huge list of accomplishments that you have done and have accomplished in your running career in high school and everything. So, man, it is great to have you on the podcast with us. And so, we want to go ahead and just jump right into this. So Abe has a question. So, Abe, why don't you go ahead and go with that?
Yeah, so like my dad said, it's a long list of achievements. So out of all the state championship that you won, cross country, relays, open events, what would you say like the hardest one to win was?
The hardest one to win. I think I would say the cross country state team state championship.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think during that time there was a lot of there's quite a few teams that were in contention for a trophy, but we kind of wanted to put ourselves at the top. So, trying to go for the state title in the 2A division, that was a really big accomplishment for us, but also I think also one of the most difficult so far.
Yeah. So would you say like that was the main goal the whole season was to win, or were you just hoping to be up there competing?
That was definitely the main goal the entire season. That was a goal we set, during the summer prior to, the cross country season starting. And that was a really big hefty goal, but we kind of, believed in ourselves. We knew that it was accomplishable. And since we've been working towards that for, so long, our program's kind of building up to that moment. That was one of our biggest, achievements as a team and as a program. And it was definitely something that we were kind of proud of achieving, as a team.
Tremonti, you said so the cross country championship that you won last year in 2A was the
Yeah.
most difficult. Are you, in your eyes, the most difficult? So why would you say it was the most difficult? I know you had alluded to other teams and everything, or was it the team aspect that you thought was difficult, or why would you say that?
Well, yes, I guess there were like other teams that, they were also in contention with us. Of course we were going for the state title, but also, there were other teams going for it at the same time. But I feel like also just winning a cross country state championship in itself, you really have to have like a close knit, team. And I feel like we really had that. And going into the season, um, we were there's a lot of goal setting, and we had to really stay focused and till like the very like last moment, because cross country we can't really have like a down moment. We really had to stay on it, stay focused with our goals. And there's 7 of us running in that race, and so we had to make sure all 7 of us were healthy, ready to go at that moment. So making sure all that is happening all at once, I guess that was kind of something to stay on top of.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
So
Abe.
like you talked about goal setting, and you said earlier that your team goal was to win state, obviously. So
Mhm.
as an individual, did you have like Do you have a goal, like a time goal or a placement goal for the state meet?
hmm Yeah. So individually wise, for time, I was definitely trying to break 15 because the year prior, at the state meet, I ran, I think it was 15:18. So,
Mhm.
coming back, I really wanted to crack that 15-minute barrier, which I was able to. And, that was, for me, that was like the biggest goal. But also, I wanted to go all state because, again, like last year, I think I missed it by maybe like 10, 15 places. So I definitely wanted to try to get on that podium and, come back with like an individual medal. And luckily, I was able to accomplish both of those goals. But those were two of like the biggest individual goals that I kind of set for myself from the start of the season.
So, you said the year before you were in 15:18 and you're just trying to break 15. So would you say like, you crushed that. You're in 14:36 at the state meet. So was that like a shocker to you, or did you really think that you could smash the 15-minute barrier this season?
Um, for me, it was very unexpected. I knew going into the state meet, I felt confident that I could go sub 15. And so, after, doing that, I kind of wasn't surprised that I went sub 15, but running, I think it was 15:39, that was like a big of a shocker to me because, I really didn't think I was, going that fast, during the race. I wasn't really keeping track of, pace. And, I really wasn't thinking that far ahead at that time. I was thinking maybe, 14:50, maybe a 14:45. And so, when I broke that 14:40 barrier, I was definitely, kind of surprised with like my performance.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that smashing, I didn't even know that. Like you crushed that like that. Wow. That's, pretty amazing. So Abe and I, we were having a discussion before this and we were wondering, like, of course, you and your team won, the cross country, not this past season, but the previous season. So that would have been,
Mhm.
24. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah,
24
20.
2A. Yeah. So then, you find out later on that your school is now has to transition to 3A. And so when you heard that you're now running in the 3A cross country and also in track, like how was that news received and what did you think about that?
Um, I, I guess for our team, well, for me, uh, it was, I guess I was a little disappointed just
Hmm.
because I guess like with our school, our program, we're kind of small, so going until 3A is kind of like a really big different it's a different field. And I knew kind of once I'm gone and once once I'm a senior and after I'm gone, then all like the underclassmen they were gonna have to kind of deal with that.
Hmm.
And I knew like going into my senior year, we kind of lost a lot of like our top runners. We lost a lot of our top seven. And
Hmm.
so we kind of had to rebuild, not yet, we had to rebuild our entire team, but also we had to, go and compete in a completely different field that we're not used to. So it was a big shocker, but like that's when you're winning a state title that kind of pushes you up and you have to, go in there and compete with all, the big dogs, the big teams. So.
Yeah. Yes. So Abe, go ahead. I think you had a question.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say like, obviously last year you won the 800 meter state title in 2A. So
Yeah.
going hand in hand with switching to 3A, did that like affect your personal aspirations? Like, how do you react to running against guys like Philip Supiol and people like them?
Uh, well, for track, I feel like for track for me it's a different story because I
Mhm.
feel like track is more like it's kind of more individual.
Yeah.
So, I guess for me in terms of the 800, this is going to be a little more exciting for me because, of course, running with Supial, on Hareni, it's going to
Mhm.
be like more competitive and I think it's going to be more exciting, getting to run in the same division as them, as an individual running the 800 and whatnot. So I think that's going to be pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to that. Later in the season.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's gonna. We were actually Abe and I were talking about that a little bit, and just kind of how now that 800 in the 3A, hopefully all of you guys make it to state in that final. and it would be an incredible. It could be a
Yeah.
very incredible race and everything. And so, kind of going back a little bit to the cross country. Now of course, having ran in 3A this past season, and you're a senior. Like, what was your approach? Like, as far as did you decide, I'm going to take on more of a leadership role? What did you tell the younger guys about the, past successes and those kind of things? How did that unfold for you this past cross country season?
Oh, yeah. So I guess, becoming a senior and also, being one of the top guys on the team, I did kind of take on more leadership, trying to, be more supportive to like our underclassmen, our, younger guys on the team. Definitely as we transition, into 3A, there's the larger expectation of us since making it to state was going to be way harder. And I think, we really had to, come together as a team and be more supportive of each other and build upon like the team aspect so that, we're like a more close-knit team. And doing that will kind of help us, be more successful later on in the season, especially going into the state series, regional sectionals. We really had to, come together and stay focused so that, we can like, transition to sectionals and, later on make it to state because, some of the guys who were on the team, last year, they kind of gone through, the process of, going to state, but we've kind of had to kind of shift things because making it to state was going to be way harder this year.
Right.
So make as sectionals, we kind of had to, we had to peak for sectionals, and that was kind of different than what we've usually done, and even with that shift, having to, change our training schedule, I think our team, we had to be really supportive of each other. And that's kind of one of the big reasons that we kind of was able to make it to state, as like, a smaller school compared to all the other schools in the 3A field.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's good. And you brought something up that made me think because Abe was a part of the Dixon team that won 2A this year, this
Hmm.
past season. And from what I could see, the team was very was close. And you
Hmm.
mentioned that your team when you won 2A in state was very close. So like, why? In your eyes, I guess in your view, like why is that so important to be able to really have that like strong knit um, team aspect of like relying on each other? So like how yeah, so why do you think that is important?
Hmm. Well, cross country is 100% like a team sport. And, I think, well, one of our team like ideologies is that, um, you know, each guy, improves with like the next person up. So when you improve, the next person that's right behind you, like they're trying to like go right with you. So each person is, trying to, push themselves to, get to the next person. And I think that's one of the big ways that, you can improve as a team is,
Mm.
encourage the people that, maybe not as fast as you to try to like strive to, get to your a level of success and also the team dynamic, of course, being supportive, understanding, every person's, work ethic and their level of running, that really helps, build a team and, and, build like an environment where everyone, where everyone can succeed and improve upon their level of like running and their work ethic. And I think that's really a big reason how, teams can succeed at the level, the state level, the national level, and, even further. So that's kind
Right.
of like one of the big ways that as my team, we've kind
Mhm.
of gotten to the point where we are. And I think other teams, they kind of they've done the same. And that's kind of
Yeah.
like shown all across, cross country.
Mm.
Yes. I think that's a great ideology. Yeah, if there's people really close together, one person goes up, everybody goes up with them. So would
Yeah.
you say like there's been one teammate that's really pulled you up farther than anybody else has?
Yeah, I think it's definitely my fellow senior Declan.
Mhm.
Um, I guess even coming into freshman year, I kind of looked up to him. He was like a varsity, and it was like my first year in the sport. And eventually, going into sophomore year, I was able to, run on the same relay as him, and we were both running in the state meet together. And so even now, like we're both, going hand in hand. We're always like, side by side. And so, he's definitely someone that kind of pushes me to, do better. And, that's kind of one of my big motivators as of now.
Transitioning a little bit to the track, to the oval. So you of course you won a state championship at the cross country, arena, and now you won a state championship and also individual championship on the oval, on the track. And so, was there a difference between like winning cross country, state, and we'll say the 4x8, the state, was there a difference there for you, or was it all kind of the same?
Yeah, I think it's definitely different. I think first of all, the track and the cross country dynamic is I feel like it's completely different for me. As I said, cross country is like very like team oriented. But like once you go into track, it kind of becomes more individual. But like also like with the 4x8, um, like all of your relay members, you have to, hold each other accountable. And I think, even with that, it still kind of feels like, you're kind of running on your own, but at the same time, like with a relay, you're kind of pushing each other at the same time. You're like, you have to understand what each, relay member can like do, and that kind of, helps us understand like what we can do as like an entire relay, as like a team, because a relay is 4 people, you're running, as a team. And so, that's kind of like, it's kind of like a smaller team, but at the same time, you're kind of also pushing yourself to, do what you can to, help the relay.
Yeah. 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 So, because you guys participated, okay, not only, of course, at the state level, but you went to Nike Outdoor Nationals, is that right, as a team?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. And so how was that? How was that experience for you personally, and also for the team, if you can remember that?
Mm-hmm. Um, well, for us, it was definitely it was a big moment for us like on the national stage, because going into it we had, really big goals. It was the last year for our like complete 4x8, because 2 of us were juniors at the time and we had 2 seniors, so it was their last year. So it was like kind of like the final showdown for like, that 4x8. And we really wanted to, do our best to leave off, that relay with like on a high note. And so it was kind of stressful, going into it, because we knew this was like the final race for us. But we also, wanted to have fun, really enjoy the moment. And I feel like that really kind of helped us through it, is knowing that whatever happens, we can enjoy it. We can like look back, however many years later, and, say that, we, did our best, and we kind of, enjoyed the experience. And, at last year at nationals, we got second.
Okay.
And, that was, a big moment. That was the highest placement our relay has had on the national stage. And so, we're kind of like really proud of that.
That's awesome. I mean, just kind of thinking about that. It's just one of those things where it's like, it's like you said, it's a smaller team. You push each other, hold each other accountable, and those kind of things. And the stress that you guys felt, it wasn't just one individual. It was, all of you guys were
Yeah.
feeling that. So how have you dealt with like pressures, like that, or maybe individual pressures, or state, going into state or national meets or whatnot? How have you found that you have dealt best with those pressures and those stressors?
hmm for me, I kind of get in my head a lot. I really think about things. I overthink about things like way too much. And so I guess going into, big, like really stressful moments, I kind of have to, take a moment to kind of like reflect and understand that, whatever happens in a race, like I know like my fitness, and I know like going into it, I know like I'm ready for it. And so, taking like some time to, think and, like kind of like calm down and not really get too like stressed out about, like some of like those like big moments, and like understand that like I'm prepared to, go in and, do my best. That kind of helps me, relieve some of like those like the stress. But
Mhm.
also like going into the moment, it can be very stressful for me, but I've found that, going right up until like I reach that line, like right when I reach that line, all the stress kind of like disappears.
Mm.
And so I feel like that kind of shows me that, even though like I'm really stressed going into the moment, that when I in the moment, I know that, I'm ready and, I'm ready to, race.
Mm.
I think if we could go back for a second to the 4x8 at Nike Outdoor Nationals. So you said you got second, and it was DGN who actually won, another Illinois team. So
Hmm.
they're bigger, obviously. They're 3A. You guys are 2A. So were you looking to prove a point, maybe that just because you're a smaller school, it doesn't mean you can't hang with these big guys? And like, do you find yourself looking to prove people wrong, or do you find yourself doing more races for yourself or for your teammates?
Um, for a 4B, I definitely think that we were, of course, trying to prove that, just because, we were smaller doesn't mean, we can't compete, with these like larger teams.
Mm.
Because, with our 4B, we were definitely trying to compete at like a different level, like beyond like just being confounded to like the 2A.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so like, even like running into it, by ourselves, we were still, going hand in hand with some of those, 3A schools. And even at nationals, we were going into it, we wanted to, place up there, regardless of what other team, across the nation, was like running with us.
Yeah.
And so that was definitely a moment for us to like, prove ourselves that, despite, us, might not having like as many, runners or as like as large of a school as, some of these other, programs, that we still, we can still can compete at the same level. We still, run, just as fast times.
Yeah.
And,
Sometimes we use that as motivation, right? To be able to say,
mhm.
hey, like just because we're a smaller school doesn't mean we can't run as fast or maybe even
Yeah.
better, those kind of
Mhm.
things. So, with, with your, with now track, indoor track, I don't know, do you compete much in indoor, or have you had a race yet in indoor? Or do you plan to, or anything like that for an indoor
Mhm.
season?
Oh yeah, indoor. Yeah, I've had a couple races so far. Let's see. I think I've had about 3 races. So far, I think yeah, I've ran 155 with the 800, and this, I guess, indoor. Just trying to get some fast times out there, trying to see where I'm at before going into outdoor, so you can understand where we are in the season and understand like our fitness.
Mhm.
And but we don't run too many races indoor, mostly just to, get some, like, get some races in, get the legs moving before,
Right.
we actually reach outdoor. Um, but most of it is, just, building up the fitness, just,
Okay.
preparing for, later in the season. But we're also, looking for some, bigger meets, going into March.
Okay.
That's around the time for, nationals.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yeah.
looking forward to that.
So do you think are there any meets that you guys are looking at, or like, yeah, we're going to participate in that, or like you individually or anything like that?
Hmm. Um, for indoor, I think, we're going to Batavia Distance Madness.
Okay.
Again, I think I've gone there maybe all 4 years, maybe missed
Uh,
1 year. But yeah, that's a big one. I kind of enjoy going to there. You know, 800 mile, 32. All the distance
okay.
events. I really enjoy that. Also, I guess later on in outdoor, Palatine,
Mm,
Palatine. I'm really excited for there.
yeah.
Uh, you know, 800 a mile, wherever, I end up running. That always ends up being like a very exciting meet. A lot of
Okay.
energy in that meet. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Nice. Nice. Abram, did you have a question or comment?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, talking about these big meets, Batavia and Palatine, like there's a lot of energy, and I find it really easy to run fast when there's a lot of people and competitors wanting you to run fast. So when there's not all that, there's not all the lights and people, and maybe it's a smaller meet. How do you like find yourself still like trying to get that drive motivation going to, when there's not many people there at a smaller meet maybe?
Hmm. I guess usually to kind of motivate myself, like in those moments, I kind of have to like remember that, um, going into it, I'm ready. I have the fitness. And usually, especially for like an 800, I know that, regardless of who's in the meet or if it's like a big meet, that I know what I can run and I know how to run it. And so, being confident in my like, race ethic and my fitness, it kind of helps, push me to, still run those fast times and still kind of helps me, you know, set the pace for myself and, keep myself, running, just as fast as, any other, meet, regardless of like, the excitement or the energy that, is in the environment.
We're talking, of course, all about the track, and we've talked about cross country. I am wondering how did you get into running? Was it because family members, or what, can you tell us how you got into running?
Okay. Um, my first year running was freshman year of high school. I started off in cross country, but before that, I did power tumbling, which is kind of like
Okay.
gymnastics. So yeah,
Yeah.
I was a gymnast for a long time, for 10 years.
Wow.
But yeah, but yeah, going into high school, I kind of knew there was going to be like a lot of opportunities to try, many different sports. But I've always wanted to try running. I always wanted to do track. So I was kind of looking forward to that. But when I was like researching, sports, the seasons, fall sports, winter sports, I like looked at cross country and I saw, it was running. So I'm like, oh, I thought it wasn't too different from track. So I'm like, oh, they're both running. So I might as well do that, run, cross country in the fall, and then, run track in the winter and spring. Uh, I didn't know what I was expecting. It was different than what I, was what I presumed, but I kind of grew to enjoy it, and it was mainly due to the team aspect.
Mm.
Even though I was new as my first time even being a part of the sport. Um, Within like the first few weeks, the team aspect, the the Peyton team is really it was really close, and I kind of caught on to that very quickly, and that
Mm.
kind of helped me like keep going into cross country and into track. And that kind of is the starting point for me in both cross country and track. I'm kind of really glad for that.
Okay. All right. So were your guardians or your parents, were they like, what are you doing? Or were they really
Yeah,
supportive of that? Like what was their kind of
yeah.
response to you on that?
They were very supportive. Usually, they kind of let me do my own thing. So I was
Okay.
like, I want to, do cross country. They're like, okay. And so, I kind of just signed up and I just showed up and I'm like, I just told my parents, oh, I have to train, after school for a few hours and I have to get home late. And they're like, okay, we'll wait for you, you do you.
Yeah.
And, they come to meet and, yeah, they kind of really just let me, kind of do whatever I'm interested in. And I'm really, glad that, they let me explore whatever I'm, interested into doing, especially, going into cross country and track. It's so different from, gymnastics. It's kind of unexpected, but, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I would have never guessed gymnastics, but hey,
yeah.
that's awesome. Do you feel like gymnastics has helped you in running in any way? Or I don't know. What's your
Hmm.
experience been like?
Uh, um, uh, I wouldn't say, well, I think the skills that and the things that you do in gymnastics is completely different from, running. I feel like it's probably
Yeah.
kind of obvious.
Yeah.
Um, but some like the strength that I've built in gymnastics, the upper, arm strength, kind
Yeah.
of kept that for like a good bit. So I think
Hmm.
that kind of helped me. Definitely for track,
Uh,
'cause I did the 400 freshman year. So I think that gymnastics, upper body strength kind of helped me with like some like the faster events.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so you said, running is obviously very different from every other sport, but track and cross country are also very different from each other.
Yeah.
So I gotta ask, which one is your favorite?
Mm. Okay. I think track is my favorite
Mm.
just because you can be more versatile with what you want to do. So, you
Yeah.
can do the 800, the 16, if you really want to do it, you can do, the 32. There's just many things you can, try out that still kind of fits into like your training and like your fitness. And I guess opposed to cross country, it's a bit more, we already know distance oriented, and so you're kind of doing the same thing over and over again. So I think that's kind of like the difference for me.
Did you have another question, Abe?
Oh, well, I was gonna say, I'm also a track guy. If I had to
Yeah.
choose, I like the individuality of it too. And
hmm
so I think my personal favorite event is the 800. And obviously you're a state
Mm.
champion in 800. So would you say that's your favorite event, or do you also like to run 400 or a mile eventually? So like, is 800 by far your favorite, or is it in contention with other events?
The 800 is by far my favorite.
Okay.
I like the 400 at first. I think it was just because I was good at it, freshman year.
Mm.
But being on part of the 4x8, you know, that being kind of like one of my main motivators for track. I grew a huge liking to the 800, and that's my main event right now, and that's my favorite so far.
Mm.
But also, my secondary is the 16, the mile,
Yeah.
and I kind of enjoy doing that. That kind of, helps me integrate like the distance, my distance base.
Mm.
That's kind of, how far I kind of go. Like for track, I really don't go past the 16.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for the 800, because a lot of people would say that like that's a really difficult race
Yeah.
event. What in your eyes, what do you think makes it the most difficult event in track?
Yeah. I think the 800, it's so tactical. I think that's, for me, that's one of the big reasons it's very difficult. You have to go into the 800 with like strategy because, that's for me. I feel like the race, it goes by so fast. And if
Mhm.
your placement isn't good, in the first, whatever, like 300, 400 meters, that can be an indicator that, you're in like a bad spot. And sometimes, depending on your placement, you might be stuck. You might not be able to, do anything. And if you find yourself in like any of like those situations, you're like in a bad spot. Something's like bad. And I think, having to build the race tactic and, I guess I have to say like the racing IQ.
Uh,
That's kind of, really need to have like a good racing IQ for the 800 because I think it's all about like the strategy and like the tactics right off like the gun. And I guess opposed to, other events like the 16, you have like a little bit more time to, get positioning, and understand, where you are. But with the 800, everything goes by so fast that right off the gun, you have to, get that placement.
yeah, yeah. What do you say, Abe?
I was just gonna say, in the 800, what is your favorite style of pacing? Do you like to go out guns blazing, 54 first lap, or do you like to sit back more?
I definitely like to take the lead.
Mm.
That's kind of what I usually do. I try to go out to the front, more comfortably.
Mm.
And I feel like that kind of works for me because I like setting the pace. I feel like when I set the pace, I control the race.
Mhm.
And that's kind of what I did in my 800 at the state meet last year.
Mm.
Yeah, I took the lead first 200, and after that, I just kind of like took it at my own pace. And I knew I kind of was confident in my own fitness, and I think being confident in my own fitness has kind of really encouraged me to take the 800 out, take the lead, and that's kind of like the racing style that I found myself most comfortable with, just
Mhm.
because um I know my own fitness and I know that I can like pace whatever time I want to run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the 800, I've always been told that you get one big move to make. So for
Mhm.
you, what do you think is the most important stretch of the 800? Whether it be from 400 to 600, or maybe the first 200. What's the most important?
Uh, oof. I think the most important stretch is maybe that third 200,
Mm.
like right after that, that first 400.
Mhm.
I think just because usually what I found is like, after that first 400, the race usually picks up. Most times you can like see like the shift and the running. You can see everyone kind of picks up the pace. And I think that's where you have to, realize you really have to, go. You have to pick up the pace. You have to, you have to um, be in like a good placement. And that's kind of where the race kind of really changes up. And I think that's kind of like the important part of the race where you need to, see where you are and understand, kind kind of where you are in the race.
Yeah.
Hmm. That's good. That's good. Oh man. Um, but I could probably keep talking. We could probably keep talking about a lot of this. Although we also would like to have some questions just to kind of know more about you as a person, because we
Mhm.
know that there's more to an individual than just
Yeah.
the running aspect. So I have a few questions here just to kind of get to know you a little bit more and everything. And so the first question is, when you're on your run, or easy run or whatever the case may be, and you have your AirPods in, what is playing on your playlist? Maybe who's the artist you're listening to right now, or a song, or whatever. So what's playing for you?
Okay. Um, um, I really like I really like tapping into some like the pop, maybe some rock or especially rap and R&B. Um, so usually like if it's usually I kind of have like Coldplay on. I really like some Coldplay. But also if I'm listening to some like the R&B, I kind of like I like the old stuff. So
Okay.
I might be listening to some like Lauryn Hill. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, all right. All right. No, that's good. Lauren Hill's got some good ones out there,
Yeah.
and everything. So, okay. And so then now, so you are on a relay team. We're gonna say relay team for a 4x8, and you have your choice of superheroes that are going to be on your team. So who's going to be joining you on your relay team?
Oof. Okay. This is an interesting one. Okay. I think for sure I have to go with Captain America. He has to definitely be a big part.
Okay.
I want to say Flash. I feel like I feel like he's cheating though. But but um
Okay.
let's see. Who else would be good? Spider-Man.
Okay.
I think I'll put him on there. And uh uh I'll go with Superman.
Superman. Okay, that's
Superman.
my
Yeah.
man. That's my
Yeah.
guy right there. My guy.
Yeah.
All right, all right. So that sounds like a pretty good relay team to me. I mean, I
hmm
think they probably blow everybody out of the water. So, all right. And so this next one. So, what has been your most embarrassing moment on the oval? We'll just confine that to the oval. Any embarrassing moments or moments you're like, oh man, I wish that didn't happen or whatnot for you.
Hmm. I wouldn't say that I have many embarrassing moments, but something that kind of embarrasses me, like when I think about it. I don't. Well, I'll say 2 years ago when our 4 went to Nike Nationals outdoor. That was my first time going to nationals, and I was put on the first leg. I'm usually third leg, but we kind of switched things up. And when I was going to like exchange, I was like in the final 100 meters. I couldn't find my teammate. I think on second leg it was Declan. I couldn't find him, and so I just like
Oh,
kept running straight, and I almost ran past the exchange zone because I couldn't find him. And so
oh,
he had to run into like lane one from like all the way out to like get me. So yeah, I almost
yeah.
kind of had our 4v8 DQ'd.
Oh
But
no.
yeah,
Well, thankfully that didn't happen.
yeah.
Yes, yes. Awesome. So, okay. This next one is, um, do you or what is a hidden talent that you have that not many people would know about?
Ooh, hidden talent. Uh, wow. I feel like many of my unique talents would come from, gymnastics. If I say like, oh, I can do
Okay.
like a backflip or something. Um,
Okay.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah, so you would say your gymnastics background would probably get you a lot of tricks.
yeah.
Uh,
Definitely in the track and cross country. I don't think there's many gymnasts, so I think that would probably give me past.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Awesome. So, one of the things that we like to, what we like to do, or at least give an opportunity
Mhm,
to our guests, is that for those who are listening, either freshmen or sophomores, it doesn't matter what grade you're in, but what words of advice or encouragement or challenge would you give to our listeners?
mhm. Okay, I think something I would like to say to, the younger runners is never become complacent.
Mm.
And I guess what that means is like never get comfortable with like where you are. Never, settle for like whatever goal or like fitness that you are at the moment. Always, set higher goals. Always, strive to achieve those goals because that will always, keep you progressing. Because I think complacency is the biggest threat to progress. And so that's
Yeah.
kind of something that's driving me, always, looking for more, always, being hungry to, achieve more and achieve things that are greater. And so I think that's something important that everyone, should keep in mind.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. We really do appreciate that. And that's complacency. That can be the enemy of greatness.
Hmm.
So yeah. So thank you again for sharing that. And Abe, is there anything any comments, questions that you want to share?
No, just thank you again for coming on the podcast. I enjoyed the conversation, so have you
Yeah,
back
for
on again
sure.
soon sometime.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So again, Tremonti, thank you so much for taking the time to join us on the podcast. We really do appreciate that. And yeah, like Abe said, hopefully we can have you back on in the future. This is has been a great conversation. Really have enjoyed it and everything. And so again, thank you for your time. And for those of you who are listening, thank you for joining us in this conversation with Tremonti. Just want to remind you, we are on the socials of TikTok and also Instagram. Very easy to find us, Andale.run. And also give us a follow on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And we're also on YouTube. You can check us out there. We would greatly appreciate getting the word out there. So thank you so much. And whatever you're doing this week, we hope that you're doing it well and with everything that you got. And if you do it and you accomplish it, please remember, you hear my voice saying andale because you've accomplished a goal that you set. So you guys have a great week and we will talk to you guys later.